those two programs and maybe a couple others not eager to go to the 9-game SEC schedule, at least not at this point in time. Got a little heated on Twitter late last night, just racking my brain on just, to me it's selfishness. And a lot of people, it's very easy to poke fun of Kentucky for their non-conference slate. I don't go there. In fact, if you've been a loyal listener to this show, I've referenced it before. I think it's smart. You rack up on wins. You get your conference going into the SEC play. They've had historic success under Mark Stoops in the recent seasons, and I don't give a damn if that comes on the back of picking up an easy win here or there, because when Mark Stoops got there, they weren't easy. I mean, he was struggling to get these wins. He was struggling to turn around the series against Mississippi State. Couldn't beat Tennessee. Hell, they couldn't beat Florida. That was a question every year. It's been 30 some odd years since you beat Florida. He's done it twice now. He's beaten Tennessee twice. They own South Carolina for the most part. The only team they can't get over at this point in time is Georgia, and they're coming, the Bulldogs, to Lexington this year. That could be a hell of a game. Could be the year Kentucky finally snaps that Georgia streak. But I say it's selfish because you just got to look at the grand scheme of the SEC. And if Kentucky is apparently dead set on, well, if we play 9-game conference schedule, we can't play Louisville. And that's obviously our in-state rival, ACC rival, even though Florida has come out here and said, they plan to play Florida State every year. It doesn't matter how many conference games we've got. I don't know if South Carolina, where they stand on that, but I'm sure as hell they're not going to give up playing Clemson annually. So, they may be against the schedule. I'm not sure. But, you can't put this on playing Louisville as the linchpin for, what we would be losing? We'd be losing Texas A&M. We'd be losing Georgia versus Auburn. We'd be losing Alabama versus Tennessee on an annual basis, and many others. We'd be losing Florida, LSU. I could go on and on and on. The games we'd be losing so that Kentucky can keep their Louisville game, which they could do anyway if it's in a 9-game conference schedule. But my biggest gripe with this, and I'm seeing it not just from Kentucky fans. I'm not trying to pile on Kentucky, but I've seen it from some South Carolina people. I've seen it from Arkansas. Hell, our schedule's tough enough as it is. I just don't think people are grasping how dominant the SEC is going to be in the years to come, especially when Texas and Oklahoma join the league. And I've made this point before, but, as it stands right now, even teams that are still rising in the SEC, perfect example, Missouri, South Carolina, Mississippi State, those teams that those fan bases got a lot of expectations and hype for what their programs can do. But I think it's fair to say outside of those fan bases, people, look down on you historically, and that's all good and well. But what are we seeing? We're seeing incredible facilities being built at these schools. We're seeing coaching hires that appear to be the right hires, elevating that program. We're seeing recruiting success unparalleled. We're seeing transfer portal success for these teams that's helping them climb up the SEC standings potentially this season. But the biggest thing of all, when we have a 16-team super conference, I've said this before and I'll keep damn saying it, that's going to be the death of South Carolina losing a recruiting battle to Georgia Tech. That's going to be the death of Missouri losing a recruiting battle to Iowa. That's going to be the death of Mississippi State losing a recruiting battle to TCU, because everybody is going to want to play in the SEC. All the best players are going to come. They already come to the SEC, but it's going to be tenfold because the SEC is going to be a super conference, and the rest of these, it's going to be like junior leagues. Now, Ohio State and Penn State, teams like that, they'll still do well, I would imagine. Michigan, put in 5-10 programs around the country, but that's it. So, again, we go back to those teams like I'm saying, maybe South Carolina, Mississippi State, Missouri. If you look at them right now, maybe you could argue they're in the top 30 to 40 range in the country. here in 5 years, these are going to be top 20, top 25 programs because, again, the 16 in the SEC are going to be dominant, and they're going to be just a step above everybody else. Hell, I think even Vanderbilt, as long as they continue to commit, I'm not saying Vanderbilt's going to turn into an SEC power, but I think they're going to dominate recruiting over any of these programs like Wake Forest, Duke, Northwestern. Who in the hell is going to want to go to those schools when you could come into the SEC and play with the best of the best? I just don't see it happening. So we've got to move on from this. Well, we got to secure a bowl win. And I had someone, Adam Luckett, I love his work over there at Kentucky Sports Radio. He was saying, well, hell, if we go to 9 games, we're going to have teams being 1-8 in the SEC. You can't be afraid of competition. If you want to play in the SEC, you have to not be afraid of competition. Otherwise, the Sun Belt will open you with open arms. The ACC will welcome you with open arms if you're afraid of playing 9 games in the SEC. That's where this thing's going. And the only detriment that I can see with a 9-game schedule, the schedules will get incredibly more difficult. I get it. And people are worried about their rankings in the college football playoff. But hell, the SEC's dominated that thing. And that's not going anywhere, particularly with expansion is going to come. I know it's been delayed, but, it's all trending towards that direction. I don't care how many. They're not going to pick 8-0 out of the ACC Clemson over an 8-1 Alabama, an 8-1 Georgia, 8-1 Florida, Tennessee. Just because they have one loss, they're not going to put the king of the cupcakes in over any SEC program in the college football. You mark my words now, when Clemson's got 1 win over a winning team and the SEC Kings got 7 wins over a winning program, it just ain't going to happen. So that fear to me is unfounded as well, because we all know the SEC gets a ton of respect in the college football playoff poll. And again, I get a little heated talking about this, but we got to do what's best for the conference, not necessarily what's best for one school or the other, and losing traditional rivalries, losing these games that we love so much. And, the added benefit, I haven't even mentioned this, but how many people out there, they always debate whether to get season tickets or not, and you look at the schedule, and there may only be 2 or 3 home games that interest you. That's going away too. And the more product we can put on the field, that's better. Conference versus conference, SEC versus SEC. It's going to be good for the fans, the season ticket holders, people that watch the games. It's going to be good all around. The money's going to be insane. And hell, they need it with NIL and all this coming aboard. Coaching salaries skyrocketing. Sam Pittman, we'll get to that in a minute. He got him a new contract, but there's virtually no downside to this. And again, if you're afraid of competing in the SEC, get the hell out, because the SEC will be fine without you. And get on board, because this is where we're going. You're just delaying the inevitable. And that's my piece. That's what I got to say on it.